That's great. So everyone has a packet. And in the packet, I'm going to refer you to a page, if you haven't seen it already, is a page that probably will be of most interest to you. It's the one with the 10 names, or not 10, 7 or 8 names listed on this sheet. Originally, when we were recruiting phone callers, we had kind of set the expectation that everyone would need to make 10 names, but no more than 10. Well, because of the great success we had in recruiting all of you, and there are more of you that some who couldn't be here tonight, turns out that each of you only needs to make 7 or 8 calls. And the people that you have in front of you are the people that you will be contacting. Okay? Now, I want to cover just a few things through the use of PowerPoint here. And all these PowerPoint slides are in your packet. It's the portion that's stable, so you don't need to take notes based on what I'm sharing with you. But I'm going to go through this very quickly, especially the first half, because it kind of echoes again what you already heard on the video. But the second half will talk specifically about how you're going to do your job as a phone caller. First things first, you are not asking for money. You're not hounding anyone for a commitment card. Basically, you are communicators. You are not solicitors. Okay? Or said differently, I view your role as hopefully informing people about some key dates, maybe inspiring them to pray and support the appeal, and inviting them to respond. But you're not asking for money. You're not sitting in their kitchen saying, I can't leave until I have your commitment card. Nor are you on the hook to follow up with any of these individuals if they do not respond to the appeal. You're not going to be doing any follow-up down the road. All right? That's done differently through other mechanisms. Okay? So I needed to make sure we covered that. Our goals were pretty much shared very well in the video, but I always like to remind us that whenever a congregation does a campaign like this, one of the outcomes is it causes us to pray and stretch in our Christian giving, which is not easy to do, but something we're called to do throughout our lives. So that's one goal. As you heard in the video, our goal is to raise funds needed to retire debt, accomplish building maintenance improvement projects, and focus on future ministry opportunities. All that we do is always focus on our mission, to welcome all to the faith in Jesus Christ. Okay? So that's the overarching goals of this appeal. Because a portion of what we're doing is retiring debt, it's just good, again, for us to make sure we got a handle on the nature of that debt. The cost of your Phase 1 renovations, which we enjoy here right now, was $2.2 million. In the first appeal, you raised roughly $1.3 million, and you borrowed the rest, as you heard in the video. So your current loan balance is something, it was, I think, did we say 600,000 in the video? Right. But it's starting to drop underneath that. Yeah. And the interest rate is 3%. Monthly payment is $14,000. So by retiring our debt, what we're doing is we're helping ensure that your regular offerings, instead of going towards debt payments, continue to fund your ministries. Or said differently, we're helping ensure that your ministries do not get choked by a debt payment. That's an important reason why we want to pay this debt off aggressively. Because I've worked with churches where they failed to do that, and lo and behold, the debt finds its way in the operating budget and slowly begins to choke ministry. So you will avoid that. Also, by retiring the debt early, you will save a lot of money in interest expense. And that's just good, good stewardship of God's finances. So that's our focus on debt. A portion of what we raise, though, is also focused on future ministry. Just as we did 3 years ago, 10% of what is raised will be used as seed money for future ministry. Used to help finance resources needed to strengthen ministries targeted to the needs of our faith community. That's open-ended by design, but it's creating the seed money you need to keep your ministries vital. Finally, as you heard in the video, you've got various maintenance projects. I don't need to repeat those now. It's a lot more fun when done by a drone than looking at a PowerPoint presentation. Estimated cost of these projects, $400,000 to $500,000. All right? So that's what we're all about here. And again, a reminder that the first appeal that we did, Grounded in Faith, Growing to Serve, was initiated in 2013. That comes to a closure, and our new appeal commitments will begin in June and end in 2019. All right? Just real briefly, I've discovered through all the years, and Mary, you know this well too, why people give to capital campaigns like this. And we found that there's 3 reasons, basically. One is faith. Faith leads to gratitude. People give generously because they experience God in community. They experience God's love here. And so that experience just leads to a real sense of gratitude, which you can really feel in this community here at St. Matthew's. Another reason people give is they understand the opportunities that are in front of us. The opportunity to fix a roof so that Chris and Matt don't have to wear those silly hats, right? The opportunity to fix the parking lot so you don't have liability for skateboarders. Things like that. So people understand the projects, they understand why it's important to pay down the debt, and they view those opportunities with enthusiasm, and it gives us hope for the future. Finally, people give because they're asked, and they give generously. Now again, you are not asking, but through the appeal process and through the literature, they are being asked. A quick comment about that asking. We take great confidence from Matthew 7:7. Asking you will receive, seeking you will find, knocking the door will be open to you. So, through the appeal process, we make a bold request, but we never employ tactics that are just not appropriate. We never guilt people or shame people or blame people into giving. But we do make a bold request, and in order to raise $1 million or more, we have to ask boldly. So if the question is, what do I need to consider giving to help us achieve our appeal goals? The response to that is, as you heard in the video, to pray and consider renewing your prior 3-year commitment for another 3 years. To pray and consider that possibility. And for those who did not participate in the prior campaign, we ask you to take a look at your regular giving and see if it's possible to match that giving for 3 years. So in other words, if someone is currently giving $1,000 a year by way of regular offerings, we ask them to prayerfully consider giving an additional $1,000 this year, an additional $1,000 next year, and an additional $1,000 in the 3rd year. It's essentially doubling or matching your current giving. I don't think there's... So, I have to back up here. Yeah, so before I leave the slide, I always reiterate that we never pretend that these are small requests. These are bold, challenging requests. We understand that. We understood that when we made similar requests 3 years ago. The wonderful thing is that this community has shown its generosity 3 years ago when we raised 1.3 million, and I expect we'll show their generosity again this time. None of us who are planning this appeal presume to know in the end what any one individual or household can give. That really is a private decision, and we're very respectful of that. So we make a bold request, as you see, but then at the same time, we say to everybody that it's a personal, private decision. And in the end, whatever and however God leads you to give, we say thanks be to God. We say thanks be to God. Because, again, none of us are in your wallets. None of us know what your circumstances are. That's a private matter. Okay? So that's the invitation to give. Now, I'm about to switch into your job as a phone caller, but before I do that, is there any questions about anything in the video or what we've talked about so far?
So what if someone asks what their current pledge amount is? For some of us whose, it comes right out of our checking account every month, we don't actually have to write it down. So
Yes.
people might not remember what they pledged.
So the question is, what if I don't remember what I pledged last time? What we are doing in the so everyone, either you've just received or you are about to receive a packet that comes in a big white envelope like this. Raise your hand if you've received it already. Okay, most of you. Okay. Inside that packet is a response form, as you can imagine. And on that response form, we've put an amount in there that echoes what we understood your pledge to be 3 years ago. Okay? So hopefully that'll help remind you. Okay? So that's a good question. Anything else? Yes?
I have a question on the focus on future ministry slide.
Yes?
If we're asked, what types of, can we give examples? Is there anything that we can give some insight on about what funds for that purpose would go? Is there anything from like the last appeal that we could use as an example, or are there things in mind right now that we could inform people of?
Great example of a future ministry. So it's kind of this idea that we don't know always what's coming up or what's going to happen in the next year. But a great example of a way we're going to be using that fund from the past, from that previous 3 years, is we're starting a new ministry at St. Matthew's called Stephen's Ministry. How many of you have heard of Stephen's Ministry? A bunch of you. It's a ministry that is designed to walk alongside people that are really having struggles. And since there's only just a few of us who are pastors, it's training people to kind of do that ministry so that they can walk alongside people too. So as someone goes through a crisis in their life, a divorce, a death, it becomes someone that can be walking with them. Now, in order to become a Stephen's Ministry church, there's a fee, a national program to be registered, and then there's a training cost that for each leader that goes through that. There's a week-long training. We're training, Sue Swing is going to be getting that training in June. We're hoping the next pastor will get that training. We're hoping about 3 to 4 other leaders will want to do that in the congregation, get that training. Then they come back and they train the ministers. So it becomes about when you add all the costs up, it's going to be $15,000 to do all this and materials and yada, yada, yada. But it's one of those ministries we think would make us a more caring place, help walk alongside people that are struggling. Often we come in at the critical moments as pastors, but then that continues on for the next 2 years, maybe or more, somebody that needs that support and someone to walk with them. And so how do you train people to do that and help them? And it becomes a lot of training courses. I won't go into the whole details, that's not what this meeting's about. But a great example of what those funds would be used for. Yeah?
And who makes those decisions?
The pastors and the council, yeah, and finance and the committees. So depending on what the issue is, If it's, for example, the youth ministry wants to start something new, then its youth committee brings it to council and the pastors and staff. And so it's whatever group is focused on that ministry, but yeah. Other questions about that? It's a great question.
Go ahead.
I had someone mention to me that the guideline for the last campaign was half again of your pledge. In other words, if you pledged, in your regular pledge was 1,000, then the guideline hopefully was half of that. Now this time we're asking for doubling the pledge. Was that information inaccurate?
Yeah, what was said to you was inaccurate. 3 years ago, the request was to double your giving. Yeah. Mhm.
Wasn't it always to double?
Yeah, that's what he was just saying.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Okay. Any other questions before we look at your job as a phone caller?
So, and just to be clear on that, this time we're asking people to continue whatever they pledged. So we're not asking them to double their double. If that makes sense. It's just to continue what they've done the last 3 years.
What is the
Unless they
amount-
didn't
What is the
contribute.
amount of money that you need?
What, the question is, what is the amount of money that you need? The needs that were listed there add up to $1 million.
And last time we
We raised
gave up 1.3 million,
1.3 million. Correct.
so that's doable.
It's doable. It's doable. I've helped many churches who've done a second campaign, not unlike this, and when you average all those campaigns out, on average, churches raise roughly 80% of what they did the first campaign. So when we were sitting out early on, saying what might be reasonable to raise, what kind of goal should we put, 1 million seemed appropriate. Okay, good questions. Anything else for a moment? All right, let's move on. So, some key dates. This Sunday, I'm calling it Invitation to Share Sunday. The video that you saw will be shown at the worship services. And Chris will also have a PowerPoint that'll accompany that to explain the appeal packet that everyone received in the mail. So by then, certainly everyone should have received their packets in the mail. And then everyone is encouraged to go home and pray about their decision and be led in prayer by God as to how they will respond. So that's one of two key dates. The other key date is May 1st. And as you can imagine, we're going to call that Commitment Sunday, and that is when we ask people to return the response form that's in their packet. There's also a return envelope inside you put the form. So May 1st, the response forms will be received during worship in a special way. We're mapping that out. So a special procession will occur on that day. So, with those dates in mind, let's talk about your phone calls. When do you make your phone calls? And I'm suggesting you make your phone calls now and through the 20th. In other words, this next week, you can make your phone calls. My suggestion to you is to make your calls after 9 o'clock in the morning, not any sooner, and up to 9 p.m., not any later, just out of courtesy. I would suggest to you to avoid mealtime, if possible. And I've heard that Sunday evenings is a good time to reach people. One of the biggest challenges, I guarantee, that you will have is getting through to people. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But Sunday evening is a good time to reach people, or early evening. And I was just looking at some feedback from some phone callers from another church, and one individual apparently said that Friday evening is also another good time to reach people at home. So you want to keep that in mind. The people you are calling have been randomly assigned to you. So there's been no attempt to try to figure out who knows who. That would have been too challenging. And you're not calling one another or other volunteers in the appeal. All right? But they have been randomly assigned. So how do you prepare for the phone calls? Well, the main thing is to, again, familiarize yourself with the appeal literature. And by the appeal literature, I'm referring not only to the packet that you just received, Just make sure you look through the materials there. It's all self-explanatory. But also go back to the brochure you received earlier. Everyone should have received, right, this big piece. Does it look familiar? And just take a quick scan this one more time before you make your phone calls, okay? And that'll go a long way in making sure you know as much as you need to know. And then make the easier calls first. So you might look at your list and recognize some people you know, and you can begin with them and just start that way. You'll find that once you make the first or second call, that any apprehension or angst that you might have going into it will dissipate. And you'll find that these calls are very easy to make. So relax and enjoy your calls. Now, when you call someone and make a connection, and now let me refer you, there is a page in your packet called Telephone Caller Instructions, and it has a grid on it with a left column and a right column. So this is a key document for you, and what we're asking you to say in the phone call is here. It's all scripted out for you in the left column. And that's what I'm kind of walking through right now. So when you call and you have someone on the phone, identify yourself as a member of St. Matthew's and identify yourself by name. Okay? Hi, this is Fred calling from St. Matthew's. I'm calling in regards to our Grounded in Faith Growing to Serve appeal. So getting your name and your connection to the church out there right away will help put the recipient of the call less on the defensive. All right? And then ask if it's a good time to talk. Okay, and if it's not, just call back at another time. When you are, as far as what you want to communicate in the call, and again, this is all scripted out here for you on your sheet, that you're reminding them that on this Sunday, that we are sharing information about our appeal at the worship services. You are reminding them that Commitment Sunday is May 1st, and that encourage them to bring their response form to worship on that day. This piece here, I'm going to call it optional, but if you feel comfortable sharing why you love being a member of St. Matthew's and why you support this appeal, you can throw that out there. But the reason I make it optional is you may not be as ambitious to share that, or you know, the call, you may pick up signals from the person on the other call that they're just not that receptive to the call, right? So don't feel like you have to force this into the conversation. I would say that if during the call it turns into a call where member to member are sharing things and you're sharing your excitement for being a member of St. Matthew's, that's wonderful. If the call evolves to that or can become that. But if it doesn't, don't fret. Mainly, the main things we want to get across is the first bullet, the second bullet, and finally this fourth bullet. That is you asking, do you have any questions? Yes?
And if they have questions, and I don't know the answer, where do I direct them?
Where do you direct so in your packet is your what is the $1 million show, call a friend.
Yeah.
Is that what they call it? Phone a friend? So there's that first sheet in your packet called Telephone Caller Resource People, all right, is a list of the appeal core team that's been preparing for this appeal, as well as mine. So if someone asks a question you don't know the answer to, don't fret, that's no problem. If it's not a real pressing question, you can share with them that they'll be Pastor Chris and others would be at worship, that they can get that answer. But if it's a pressing question, you can either say, I will get you an answer, or I will have someone follow up with you. And that's then when you tap into these resource people. And if you need any one of us to follow up with somebody, we will do that for you. Okay? Yes.
What if their question is, I'm unable to attend worship on Sunday, May 1st? How do I submit my package to the church?
So if your question is, I won't be there on May 1st, you simply say, then simply either mail it to the church office or bring it the following week. It's that easy. Okay? Good questions. Now, this will be the biggest challenge you have, right? Is you're unable to make a connection. Or said differently, you get voicemail, an answering machine, or a 10-year-old son or daughter, right? What do? This is what you do. Well, first of all, I would say, be thankful that the election is over. Because that makes your calls a lot easier than it would have been a couple weeks ago. But what do? You leave them, on the first attempt, you leave a message that you'll call them back. So imagine that you call, you get an answering machine, right? Hi, this is Fred. I'm calling from St. Matthew's regarding our Grounded in Faith, Growing to Serve appeal. It looks like I missed you. I'll call you back at another time. Click. All right? So you notice what I didn't do is I didn't leave my phone number and say, please call me back. Right? Don't do that. It just puts you in an unproductive and frustrating phone tag situation. Make a second attempt. Okay? And if on the second attempt you get the answering machine again, then leave an extended message. Because 2 attempts is what I'm asking you to do. I used to ask the phone callers to make 3 attempts, and I was getting some feedback saying it seemed like, they were saying 3 attempts seemed like a little invasive. So I ask you to make a second attempt. And on the answering machine, the second time then, you would leave an extended message that would go something like this. Hi, this is Fred calling from St. Matthew's again regarding our Grounded in Faith, Growing to Serve appeal. Looks like I missed you. The reason I was calling was, and then you just follow your script, to remind you that this Sunday we're going to be sharing more information about the appeal. Hope to see you there. And then to encourage you to return your response form on May 1st. That's our Commitment Sunday. And thanks for your support. Okay, and you click. So you're getting those reminders out there. All right, that's all you need to do.
Never call them back again. That's it.
You don't need to follow up again. All right. So you made 2 attempts there. Now, what kind of reactions might you get? You might have someone on the line that is unaware of what's going on and willing to listen to you, right? Which is your opening to share the things that we're trying to accomplish. Debt reduction, maintenance projects, seed money for ministry. So seize that moment, share what you can with them. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Again, if they have, I answered this earlier, if they have a question you can't answer, get someone from the resource list to help you out. There we go. If you're unaware of the appeal, take a moment to explain the goals. If you're on the phone with someone and you can just sense that this isn't a good time to talk. Maybe there's a crying baby in the background. Don't feel like you have to cover all your points in order to, else Fred will give you an F. It's not that at all, right? Just use your common sense, use your judgment, and cut the call short if your instincts tell you that. Also, if someone in the course of the phone call, this doesn't happen often, but it might, if they share something with you that they're struggling with, because you happen to be an ambassador of the church that's on the phone with them, you can certainly say, would you like me to pass that on to the pastors? And if they say yes, then you can do that, right? You can make notes of that. I mean, if it's something urgent, you can reach the pastors right away and pass that information on to them. Okay. Again, the chance of that happening is very minor, but if it happens, you can do that. If somebody is unhappy about anything, whether it's something related to the first appeal, something about this appeal, something about the projects, something that happened to them 5 or 10 years ago, right? If they're unhappy, all we ask you to do is just be a good listener, thank them for their feedback, and move on. All right? Don't feel as if you have to persuade them to feel differently. All right? Just thank them for their feedback and move on. The key thing here is this, that if they indicate that they don't support the appeal, or maybe they might say, you know, I understand these needs, but I cannot give at this time. Even though you're not asking for that information, even though you're not asking for money or anything like that, they still might say, you know, I can't support this appeal. If they say that, just thank them for that feedback, and then record that in the sheet that I'm about to show you. There's a sheet that you record how the calls went, and on there you're going to say, will not be given, or cannot give. The reason that's important is that a little bit down the road, we'll be sending reminder letters to those who do not respond to the appeal, right? And we do not want to send reminder letters to someone who's already told us that they're not or cannot give. Does that make sense? It would mean that we're not being good listeners. So let us know if they are not or cannot give to the appeal. All right. If you have a bad phone number, or they happen to say we're no longer members, then again thank them. Just record that information also for us, and then close the call by thanking them for their time. So that's the phone call. When you complete the phone calls, there's a form in your packet called Telephone Caller Results Form. And all you need to do is put your name towards the top there, and then write the name of the person you called, whether or not you made contact, yes or no. And then just a very brief note. If the call went okay, you can just say, call went okay. That's all we need to know. We're more interested in those exceptions, right? If they said will not or cannot give, you write that in that rightmost column. Or if it was a bad phone number. Or if they had some other issue that they voiced that you think needs to be shared with the pastors or with your leadership. Write that down. And this stuff will get forwarded. Okay? So that's what this form is for. And you would return this form by Commitment Sunday. Which was May 1st. Let's get the date. Now, and there's an envelope in your packet to put this form in, okay, when you're all done with your phone calls. There's also, though, if you want to get away from paper, you can go to the website that's listed at the top of the form and just type in the same information. So you can do it either way. If you type it in through the website, then you just discard these. You don't have to turn them in. All right? So that's the form you fill out. Now, one last favor to ask of you, and that is to send a note card to the same people that are on your list. And to send that note card somewhere in that April 21st to 27th date. So what you're doing is you're going to refer to the right column on your instruction sheet, the right column, and on there you will find a suggested text that you will write in that card. And the note card will either say, in effect, was nice talking with you, just a reminder about Commitment Sunday, thanks for your support. That's option one. Or it'll say, sorry I didn't talk to you. Just a reminder, Commitment Sunday, May 1st, thanks for your support. So whether you made contact with them or didn't make contact with them, you'll send a note card. This is a little old-fashioned to receive anything in the mail that's handwritten, but what I found out by doing this is that it's a nice way to reach out to those that you will not get through, right? At least they're getting that. But even those you made contact with, it's just nice to get this simple note card. And it causes them to pause and think, yes, I really need to focus in on this and make sure I respond. And I say thanks in advance for affixing a stamp to these envelopes. We didn't put stamps on them because some packets don't get picked up and that would have been wasted postage and all that. So thanks for, if you want stamps from the from the church office, you can certainly ask them if you want those. Otherwise, use your own stamps. Now, when you send the postcards, now your job is done, period. So again, at that point, if you haven't yet filled out your telephone caller results form, do it or do it online. And one last request. There's a feedback form for me that is meant to help me. So, and that form is also, there's a hard copy of it in your packet called the telephone caller feedback form. So I would encourage you to just take a moment and respond to that. It'll only take you a minute or two. Especially if you have some good advice for me as to what I might have done differently to help prepare you for selfish reasons. It just helps me grow and make sure that I'm doing the best job I can. So thank you in advance for doing that. This feedback form can be filled online by going to the website that's listed there or listed at the top of the form. So again, you don't have to deal with paper if you don't want to. All right, I just covered everything I needed to tell you, but I'm sure you have questions yet about these calls, so ask away.
I actually have a question about the card. If someone was in your club that they cannot give, do we just still send a card but word it differently other than thank you for your support?
Good question. If someone said, oh, I just can't give, then you could, you know what, you could send a card and just say, it was nice talking with you, thanks for your prayers of support. You could send that, just as a way of reaching out, you know, just thanks, we appreciate your prayers. Because again, I even if they can't give, they generally are praying for a successful appeal. So thanks. If anyone, though, express any displeasure, then you wouldn't send a card to them. In the end, use your judgment. If you decide, I don't know if I'm going to send a card to that person, just use your judgment. Yes?
If they say, you know what, at this point I just can't give, do we still want them to submit, to bring in that appeal form and put that on there in some way, or? If
they express to you that they can't give, then it's enough for you to communicate that to us. They don't have to turn that form in. Okay. And the key is, again, just letting us know so that we don't send another form to them. Right. But no, there's no harm if they do, but I don't want you as a phone caller to insist that they return that they return the form.
Okay.
Yeah. A question here.
Yeah, I was just gonna suggest maybe another twist on that. That note when they said they couldn't give,
Yeah.
just say, well, thank you for taking the call. Let us know at St. Matt's if there's anything we can do for you in your.
Did everyone catch that?
That sounds a little bit more positive spin that we're reaching out to be helpful versus
Yeah.
us.
It was nice talking with you. Let us know if we can help you in any way in the future. Yeah. It's good hospitality. It's a nice opportunity. More questions? Don't be bashful. Yes?
Yeah, you mentioned like, Sunday night would be, that was kind of like your ideal time to maybe reach some people. But yet, within your time frame of the 14th to the 20th, Sunday the 17th is
right.
the first time that we're gonna be talking to people about it. Is
Uh,
that kind of like a too close of a window?
Yeah, good point. So, because part of our script is reminding them that we'll be promoting the appeal this Sunday, it would be nice to get as many calls done as you can in the next few days. But having said that, it's okay if your calls drift, and this is a good question, I appreciate it. It's okay if your calls drift into next week, and if they do drift into next week, then you would just not include that first, you would not refer to the 17th in your delivery. Am I making sense?
Or do you mention that we,
Pardon me?
or do you mention, kind of like going backwards, that we put this out there on Sunday, and this is just a follow-up reminder?
Say that again, I wasn't.
If you were to make the call after the 17th, would you just refer to the fact that we put this in the position last Sunday?
Sure.
Call is just a reminder.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great way to put it, yeah. And then go on and remind them about me first and so forth, yeah. So when you make those two attempts, the first call and the second call, all I ask is that you don't make them within a 5-minute gap and call it a wrap. Right? So just vary the date and time a little bit. Other questions? Yes.
I noticed that some of the people that I recruited aren't here this evening. Hence,
Yes.
I asked for this to be recorded, but how will those people know and how will those people get their packets and?
Good question. So here's what's going to happen. And Karen, Karen's going to get ready here. What we're going to do is, first of all, we'll be sending an email out to you and everyone else who's not here with that has these materials attached and so forth. But these packets which are left over are going to go in the mail tomorrow, and so that everyone will have what they need. So everyone you recruited who's not here will get the materials. Having said that, rather than dropping these in the mail, there might be some people here that you live next to or are going to see them in a day or so and would be willing to take their packet. So we're going to play a little game here. And Karen is going to shout out the name, and if you're willing to take their packet, shout out that, and we'll hand these out. Whatever's left will go out in the mail tomorrow. So.
And I apologize, I don't know how to pronounce all these names.
You can hand them out.
Okay.
Pam Stokey Cece.
And
Back to Diane.
I'll
Joe Cece. Mark Peterson. Okay, yep. Over there. Bob Zwaska on Rogers Avenue.
I'll do that.
Thanks. Sarah Zello on 82nd Street. Craig Seawee. Yep. Dennis McBride. Okay. Al Land out in Menominee Falls. Mia Kodzik in Aberdeen Court. We've got Carol Heim out in Menominee Falls. We have Ryan Engelhart in Wauwatosa. Jim is going.
I can take that one.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Kevin Ead on 81st Street. John Doby, he's on 68th Street. Ann DeWitt on Delco Avenue. And Andy DiArmond on Dory Drive. Jeannie Collins on 67th Street. You want to take Jeannie's? Okay, thank you. And Rob and Michelle Burmeister out in Menominee Falls. Okay, great. I will also do this video and we'll create a YouTube link to it, and you can send that in the email to the people. So
Great.
Nancy's question about those that missed can see the video if they want, and also do a video link to the appeal video that we watched also.
Awesome. Did that answer your question? Okay, great. Good question. Any other questions? Any other questions? If not, Pastor Matt I'll call up to have us close with prayer. Thank you for your service. If you, again, don't hesitate to call anyone on that resource list if you have any questions. Pastor Matt?
Let's pray. God, we give you thanks for the call you give to each of us in baptism, and ask your blessing upon the calls that we will make, that we can be messengers of inspiration, informers of all that goes on through our ministry here, and that we might impart our own sense of faith to those we call. We ask your blessings upon us and all those we know in need of prayer this night, asking them in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.